So we're continuing to look at the hardware basics, and what I'm going to do now is come out of navigate mode. And to start this video off, we're going to explore pad mode. So fundamentally, pad mode gives you options that relate to the way the pads behave. So first of all, you get a nice display of all the sounds on the pads, and you can of course audition them from here as well. But it also gives you access to things like the choke group. Now the choke group, simply put, allows you to have one pad cut off the sound of another. Now a typical use of this is to have an open hi-hat cut off by a closed hi-hat. So the way we would do that is simply assign both of them to the same choke group. And now they cannot both play at the same time, and when the tail is ringing from the open hi-hat and I hit the closed hi-hat, the open hi-hat sound is cut off immediately. It's sort of the same thing as reducing polyphony to 1, so that only one sound can ever play at a time. But with a choke group, you can be selective about which sounds come under the effect. Now the next thing to look at here is the 16 velocity mode. And what this mode does is take whatever sound that you've focused on and spread it across the 16 pads according to different velocity settings. So this way you get access to 16 different velocity settings all at the same time. This method makes it much easier to be more precise with velocity programming. So I'm going to come out of 16 velocity mode, and now we're going to take a look at fixed velocity. And what this does is it deactivates the velocity sensitivity on the pads, so that every hit on the pad is the same velocity. And for example, with a 4x4 kick drum, you typically will have the same full velocity on every kick, apart from a few fills. Now if we navigate to the next page, we do have control over what this fixed velocity is. So we can take it up to 127, which is the maximum MIDI value. Or you can have it lighter if you want as well. Okay, so I'm just going to exit fixed velocity mode for now. And let's take a look at the keyboard mode. Now this is our chromatic mode basically, which lets us play anything that we have loaded into the sampler chromatically. So I'm going into the browser here, and I'm just going to look for something like a chord. This will do for now. I'll load it up. And now I'm going to go in and activate keyboard mode. And now you can hear that I can play this across the pads as though it was like a musical keyboard. And notice at the top here you can shift the octave up or down. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is record a couple of notes and show you how that looks in the software. So if we look at the software editor now, you can see the notes that we've entered in here. And this is a familiar piano roll that you've probably used before in any DAW. So this shows us both the timing of the events and the pitch. If we come out of this mode, you'll actually see the same events, but there's no real way to discern from this view what notes are actually in that event. And this applies for any sound loaded in the sampler. They can all be played chromatically. Okay, so I want to come out of this mode now and go to Browse, because I want a waveform that's not already a chord. So just looking for a basic waveform here, just to show you a couple more features in the keyboard section. So this one will do nicely. Now I'm going to go into the keyboard mode. And if we go onto the first page here in our navigation, so if we just press page left, you'll see here we have scale and chord modes. So the scale parameter allows us to choose a scale, such as major. And the brightest pads here denote the octave divisions. And there's a whole number of different scales here. We also have chord modes here, and this allows you to play chords just by pressing a single pad. And you have different types to choose from as well, depending on your settings. So this one here is the root and the third. And in this mode, the chords you play are dependent upon the scale that you're in currently. Now there's another mode here called chord set, and this just gives you a set of chords to choose from. We have 8 sets of major chords and 8 sets of minor chords. So this is a really fun mode to work with. Of course, there's the option of just turning off the chord mode altogether and just going to the chromatic scale and playing your own chords in. Okay, so right above the pad mode button is another function here called keyboard. Now all this does is let us quickly access the chromatic mode again without having to actually go into the menu. So as you're navigating around your sounds, say you find a single sound here like this waveform that you want to go into chromatic mode, all you have to do is press Shift, pad mode, and it takes you right into chromatic mode without you having to go through the menu. And so you can record your notes, and then as soon as you're done, just hit Shift pad mode and it'll bring you right back out of keyboard mode, and then you're back to normal operation again. So it's a really handy shortcut. Okay, so we've explored quite a few things there. At this point we'll take a little break, and when we come back we'll continue our look at the machine hardware. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.